Hey, welcome today. We're going to be making a multicolor Linocut. So we're going to start with our fresh piece of linoleum, and I've designed a loteria design of El Gallo on it. And I've taken my dry erase marker and I filled it in. So as you're carving, this allows you to kind of see the texture and create a lot of interest into your print as well. And so it allows you to carve to the lines, but we can also carve in a way that it allows shadowing and a little bit of a fun play, almost like a drawing. All right, now we're going to carve away a radiating background. And here's our finished plate. So let's print that up. So we have our jig today, and I'm going to show you with a straightforward T and line registration, which our paper has center marked. And so we can lay that down, and we're going to make our prints. So we have our inked block in place, and we'll line up our paper next. All right, and now here's the fun part. We're going to burnish away. I like to use you can use a smooth metal spoon, you can use anything, whatever you find, a burnisher, many devices that you can get an impression. And so I peek at it all the time to see if I'm getting everything down. You're not getting to see that, but I have pulled that impression. And here's our edition of El Gallo in just black. Now I really think it'd be kind of special to make color. And so what we want to do is we want to find a way to offset that black ink onto our color plates. And so we're going to need an inked up block, our blank blocks that we want to make, which will be our color blocks. And so I've moved my inked up El Gallo plate in place, and we are going to transfer that ink onto our print paper that's hinged. We'll lift that up and we will slide in our blank blocks and transfer or offset that ink onto each plate. And then that way we can make the decisions of where we want our color to be. Do we want it in a background plate? Do we want a figure plate for the underneath it? So this just allows you sure could draw it all by hand, but I just wanted to offset it to kind of take that away from me. All right, now that we have a decent impression of fresh ink onto our paper, we are going to transfer that onto our color plates to be. All right, so we move, same thing, I'm just tapping it up against the wall and to the back corner, make sure it's in place. We're going to line up our paper again. And now with the pressure, we are going to offset or transfer that wet ink onto our color plates. And I'm only doing one on the video, but you can do it on multiple plates as long as there's a little bit of ink to transfer. Eventually you could ink it up again and do it all over again. So with the wet ink on the block though, for carving, you can add a little bit of talc. Just throw a little bit of talc down, and with a shop towel or a paper towel, just dust it, and that dries out the ink, and you can start carving your plates. So that's our plate right there, ready to carve. We have a background plate, we have a figure plate, and a little bit of a red for the top. Okay, what we've done was we inked up our first color. If any ink gets on some of the edges, you can just take a paper towel and wipe it down so it doesn't print. And we're gonna print our first color, which is just a really bright kind of a yellow-orange. We're going to use a Kento registration. I'm going to keep the paper off until the last second. We're going to start. You don't want to over ink your blocks, because what it does is allows the paper to squish and move. So we're just creating a little bit of a suction down here. And now I'm going to come in with my bone folder and get really heavy into it. All right, and our first color is printed. Now I'm going to move on and finish the rest of the edition. All right, we printed our first color. And now I'm going to strip it down on newsprint just to get the thinnest layer of ink. So I'm just going to place it face down, and I'm going to burnish the back and try to strip off the ink that the paper doesn't want without moving it. Okay, what we're going to do, it's the end of our run today, and I want to strip the ink down because this is pretty thin paper and I don't want the inks to start building up and shining. Not only that, is stripping the ink off what it doesn't want gets your prints to dry a lot faster, and so we're able to print the next colors. So I'm going to carefully lay it down where it doesn't move, and I'm going to burnish it down. Once you've done that, you can see it's just stripped down. It's going to dry a lot faster, a lot nicer, able to accept the next layer of ink on top. All right, I put some paper tape down. I should have probably included this shape into some of the other blocks, but I forgot it. So I just made another block for it. And I'm going to roll it up in a red. The tape just allows me to wipe it out later. And I'll just do that again. All right, we're going to print our next color. It's going to be a light blue. Some of the ink that's in the areas I don't want to print, I'm just going to take a soft paper towel and wipe them out before I print. All right, now we're going to print our final color, key color, the El Gallo in black. And so this should bring everything together. This is what we're going for. So I'm just carefully tapping it into registration, always against that wall and always against the bottom, same way. And we'll set up our prints. I did wait a few days in between the colors. I dropped the yellow, the gold, and the orange in the same day. I did the blue on another day right after each other, and I've given about 3 days of drying for this final key. I didn't want any resistance on it, so now we're just gonna burnish out our key image. You're always going to be peeking at it, checking from each side direction. Be gentle with your paper so it doesn't ding it. But that way, before you lift it up, because if you lift it up, you can't go back. So we're checking on it. There's a little bit of difficulty in the on the border, so I'm just going to take my time with it. Everything's starting to look really good. Bottom looks nice and rich. If you ever over ink it, a good habit is to strip the block in between, print it out on newsprint just to kind of remove the excess ink, so you're almost inking it up from a new block. Everything looks great. It's lining up really well. I couldn't be happier. And you'll do that on all the rest of the prints. And here's our finished edition together. I'm going to strip it at the end of the day again, just to remove the ink so that there's no risk of a shine in your oil-based inks. There's a little bit of a shine now, and that's just the thickness of the ink, but I'm just going to strip it down. And here's our finished print. Appreciate you all hanging out. Thank you.